Hey, it's Aaron, Metal Theologian. On a new phone, so if anything's like fucked up, let me know. Just got a new phone a couple days ago, so it's not like I'm gonna buy a camera or anything like that. Because like that would cost money that I could otherwise spend on records. Alright, well we're listening to this record right here by War Child. Which is a cool record. Definitely not the greatest record of all time. Probably not worth the price tags you usually see on this thing at this point in time. Although they do look pretty fantastic. But I actually pulled this one because it kind of reminds you of one of the ones we're going to talk about later. So, yeah, I'll talk a little bit about what sort of stuff we've been playing. And then I have a few things that I pulled out that are records that, it's a topic that's been out there before. It's not like I just invented this, but records where, if they hadn't been done by the band they were done by, would probably be considered classics. But because of the standard set by the band's previous work, like based on that, these records weren't necessarily as well received, and maybe still aren't in some cases. Drinking the Moxie, but that in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Alright, so first of all, before we get into any of this, I just wanted to send out a big thank you to RJ from Daybreak Records in Seattle. So I was in Seattle last week. Yeah, I went to a show there actually. I went to the Dark Angel show, which was kind of funny because I hadn't heard the album and I heard people complaining about it. I was like, oh, what the hell, I don't give a shit, you know? I was actually really impressed because like the singer kept coming down into the audience. Like when he was on stage, he looked like, you wouldn't notice. When he was down in the audience, like walking around like in the pit and shit, like singing and shit, you could tell he was really pretty small. Like this guy was, not tiny, but he wasn't like, Hervé Villachez or something like that. But he was not a huge guy, So I was like, if you're like 6'5" and you come walking around in the audience, that's one thing. But if you're like 5'7" and you're like busting it out in the audience, I'll tip my hat to that shit. So, yeah. Anyway, I also got one over to the cause of Sacred Reich. That's a band that I'd never really taken very seriously. You've never seen a record on this channel because I've literally never owned any. I just thought they were kind of corny when they came out. I wasn't buying into the Surf Nicaragua bullshit and that. But I saw them and yeah, they were great, man. I mean, they were really good. I mean, it was definitely lighthearted compared with Violence's set. They were before, And it was all like, maybe a little bit more tough guy shit that I needed, but still a great set. I'm not shitting on them at all. And probably more my taste than Sacred Reich. But Sacred Reich was, I don't know, man, just cool. The guy went up to the Fuck Ice shirt, which didn't hurt. But, honestly, man, the singer kind of reminded me a little bit of Marty Worm. Just seems seeming like he was there to have fun. He was a genuinely friendly guy, and looked a little older than Marty, in fairness. Don't take too much away from that, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, actually, the really fun part was the opening act was Interceptor. So it was kind of cool to see my local band on the other side of the country. I'm in Charleston, for anyone who doesn't know, in South Carolina. So Seattle is about as far as you can get from here and still be in the continental United States. So. Anyway, God, why did I bring up the show? I was just in Seattle, though. And one of the big things I wanted to do is, made a deal on a lot of black metal demos, but with RJ from Daybreak. And I sort of known this guy by proxy, like through Eric Bauer, because we're friends and he's friends with RJ, and we had texted and that sort of thing. But I bought a couple of records from him even too. Like a couple times Eric said, hey man, do you need this record? I said, oh shit, I do, send it over. But this was the first time we got a chance to meet in person, and it was really nice. I mean, going to the store, but also just like hanging out and visiting. And I also want to give a very special shout out to Sue. Gonna leave out last names and that, but Sue's been, and specifics too, but Sue's been dealing with some health problems, and apparently these sorts of videos of help keep people's spirits high during some tough times. And I mean, that's the most meaningful thing I could hope to accomplish with this channel, Like if I can if someone is down and I can like make their life feel a little bit better for a few hours binging my shit, there's really nothing that honors me more to hear, I mean, yeah, it'd be great to get rich off this shit or some shit like that, be, Mr. Beast or something, but I've never had any expectations of that for reasons that I hope are obvious. All right, yeah. Well, thanks again. A big shout out to Daybreak. And a few people were talking about that Fanta not being all that hard to get here. I mean, in fairness, yeah. But it was still cool to do a live, so to speak. It was kind of cool if like there was a soda there, like ready for me when I walked in the door and barely introduced myself because the guy like recognized me from the videos. So anyway, really good trip. Spent most of my time with my kid. Met up with Eric Bauer a couple times. I was hoping to meet up with Mazzy, but I just wasn't there for long enough. The timing wasn't going to work out, so didn't push the issue too hard. Yeah. And it's funny because that kid that I was visiting is the same one who was filming my videos, if you've been watching for more than a few years. The one whose voice I inadvertently documented changing over the years. You know, if you watch really old ones when Spencer first started filming, it sounds like a tiny little kid. And the later ones, he sounds like a grown-up. And I was like, wow, well, I didn't intend to document your voice changing, but I guess I kind of did it, so. I wonder sometimes what people will think of like this whole sort of ecosystem. I mean, imagine if like there was some like big like worldwide catastrophe and we all got buried under rubble and like in 1,000 years with no context, like people dug up YouTube and we're like analyzing that to like understand historically like where he had been, where we had been and what we were up to and shit like that, you know? Yeah. Anyway. Not really the greatest song, you know? As like kind of semi-corny, semi-ballads go, I can actually hang with this pretty okay. But when I say go out and spend, you know, a big pile of money on this, I can't do that in good conscience, man. War Child. All right, let's talk about some records. These are records... I was hoping to like come up with like a big stack of these, but I really only came up with a few that felt like really good examples of this phenomenon. But there are a few records where they're great records, but the band that put them out is held to such a high bar by other releases that the people have a hard time accepting it. And this is really the one that I've kind of been carrying the flag for. You've probably heard me say this a few times over the years, but Come Taste the Band by Deep Purple. Okay, if you compare this to Deep Purple and Rock or Fireball, it does not sound like that. You know what I mean? If you're looking for a good Deep Purple album, this isn't really for you, because it's not really it. But if you're looking for a good 70s hard rock album that maybe shares a couple band members with Deep Purple but is not Deep Purple, this is a great record, man. David Coverdale's on point. They have some of that kind of soul shit that Glenn Hughes was bringing into the band, but not like on Stormbringer, where it just kind of like blew the whole album and made it boring. This one is pretty well reined in, and there's some little meandering things like this Ode to G instrumental, but Love Child is one of my favorite songs. Lady Luck is great. You Keep on Moving is kind of, I don't know if it really counts as a ballad just because it's slow, but it's like understated and sort of intense. And it's just great stuff, man. It's a corny cover, even cornier with that lipstick on the glass, right? I mean, it's funny how dated something like that can feel. A picture of lipstick on a glass. And, you know, gatefold collage. Maybe a waste of cardboard, depending on your opinion. But, you know, next time you're out there and like you're thinking, you know, man, I wish I read more Uriah Heep records or something like that. Or... I've been listening to all this like German hard rock, and I want to get something else that isn't all that hard to find. It's going to cost me an arm and a leg. Dude, Come Taste the Band is a fucking banger, I'm telling you. Here's another one. I don't know if this one gets shit on quite as much, but this is one that I really sort of see as unique in the catalog, and this is a Power Supply by Budgie. And it's actually not quite unique, because the sound on the EP that came out about the same time, If Swallow Did Not Induce Vomiting, I left that on the shelf, but that's pretty comparable to what you hear on here. Now, is this the Budgie that did Crash Course in Brain Surgery and Bread Fan and Breaking All the House Rules and... You know, all that shit off like the first 5 albums, which are all absolutely fantastic. In for the Kill, man, Hammer and Tongs. No, it sounds like a completely different band. And these guys definitely weren't the only band to sort of jump on the new wave of British heavy metal bandwagon. After those first 5 records, I really felt like the next few were kind of lame. Basically, when they switched from MCA over to A&M, the quality just went way down. Like, if I were Britannia, I'd waive the rules and, like, Impeccable. Man, I really tried to like those records, like, when I was in high school, but they just sucked, dude. So then they went away for a couple of years and came back with this in, like, 79 or 80. Yeah, 1980, it says. Power Supply. And goddamn, if this is the record, probably jumping on the trend, you know what I mean? They heard what the other sort of new wave of British heavy metal bands were doing. And, I mean, they're a Welsh band, so I guess that counts. But they really fucking pulled it off, man. This is a good record. The songs are all good. Like, when it's over, you're wanting a little bit more. And unfortunately, they really lost it again right away because they were great on this and on the EP. But Night Flight, the next album after this one, was already a lot more AOR, and Deliver Us From Evil, their last record, was just a fucking disaster. So, this one sort of hangs out. It was like between like shitty records on either side, but this is like this gem that I think people are inclined to overlook because Budgie made it, you know what I mean? If this had been some nobody band, we'd be like, oh, holy shit, man, this would be like a fucking $600 record or something like that. Well, there are a lot of them out there. Maybe only a $200 record, but still. You know? So yeah, Budgie Power Supply, man. Don't snooze on that shit. It's funny, these are getting like increasingly obvious, but I'm just gonna roll with it, man, because you know, it's not like I only have obscure shit here. So I knowingly bought this record. Like, I knew what I was getting myself into many, many years after the fact, but this is a good record. It's a terrible Celtic Frost record. It's probably the worst Celtic Frost record. I only say probably, excuse me, because the one they did immediately after this, I've never even bothered to listen to. Monotheist was fantastic. Their comeback album a few years later. But this one, I mean, it's all pink and shit. And I mean, if that doesn't put you off, then either you're like a glam fan and like that's just the waters you're swimming in, or else, I don't know, maybe you're blind or something like that. Because I mean seriously, this is one of the most cringe things ever. But I'll tell you, man, for a glam record, this record is heavy. And for a glam record, this is kind of dark. Like, when it comes to glam shit, I don't tend to have a lot of patience with it. But one of the bands that I like more is Dokken, because there's a little more darkness in those Dokken records, like the first 3, than what you hear in like a Great White or a Poison or someone like that. You know what I mean? So if you judge this by those standards, this record fucking smokes. And this one kind of has a lot of songs. It doesn't do like sort of the short, leaving you wanting more things so much. But it's not like boring, man. And even like the hit like Cherry Orchards, it's good stuff on this record, man. Yeah, Cold Lake, the infamous Cold Lake. But I'm sitting here championing it. Again, you want a Celtic Frost record, stay the fuck away from this one. Get Morbid Tales, get to Megatherion, get Monotheist. 3 different styles, really, between those 3. But they're all like seriously dark heavy metal. This is a totally different thing, man. There's like the foray into glam, but it's like they had no idea what glam was, and made something fucking fantastic with that lack of knowledge, I suppose. Busted out some 45s here to mix it up a little bit too. Plus I like playing 45s when we're doing these videos. Makes me lose my train of thought a lot, but you know something? Fuck it. I think I might have played this before, but yeah, this is the Exposure single. It only has 2 songs on the label, but it actually is the special version that had 4 songs on it, so it'll run a little bit longer than some of these other bad boys. So the reason I thought of War Child is because there are a couple like solid songs on it, but then there are like a couple little instrumentals, and there are only 3 songs on the second side. And even though it really is an LP, the whole thing feels kind of short. And well, yeah, so I'm going to compare it to another record in just like 1 second. So give me a fucking second to get this out of the sleeve. Hit Hard Records, man. Yeah, and the one I want to that one made me think of is this one right here. Like, people bitch about this cover. I actually think it's kind of a great cover. I don't care. It's funny, like the band photos. It's like the quality of the photography looks 80s, but they look 70s. You know. Famously, the only one with Ian Gillan on it. The only Black Sabbath with him on it. Also the one with that Stonehenge thing, which inspired that whole that bit in Spinal Tap with the Stonehenge that was way too small. By the way, I'm hyping Dave's Little Beasties again because I still love this fucking channel and watch all his videos, so check that out. He's playing with a centipede today, but usually it's spiders. This fucking record is great, dude. This is another one. If this were some private press that I like unearthed here or something and no one had heard of it, it'd be a $300 record. Trashed is good. Disturbing the Priest is great. Zero the Hero is great. Digital Bitch is great. God, every fucking song on this record is great. And it has some kind of fillery, like sort of interludes and shit. And it feels really short, this record, but I don't think that's a knock, man. I think that's a record that holds your attention all the way through and lets go when it's time, you know what I mean? Really great record. If you're looking for a Black Sabbath record, this is closer to classic Black Sabbath than Come Taste the Band is to classic Deep Purple, I think. But that said, it doesn't really feel right to have Ian Gillan fronting this band. His voice is just too recognizable and distinctive. And the rhythm section on this thing, I mean, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, they're too distinctive in their own area, you know? But somehow the way the songs come together in that, it feels like its own thing. You know, I mean, Black Sabbath already wasn't, they already didn't sound anymore like the band that was doing like NIB and Children of the Grave and shit like that, right? But like, if you look at their sort of initial foray into the 80s with the Dio years, Heaven and Hell, and Mob Rules, I mean, those came out in the 80s, but those were really kind of 70s sounding records, you know, they're kind of behind the curve. That's why I really am disinclined to lump them in with Budgie, it's like sort of getting on board with new British heavy metal. Black Sabbath just sort of existed off at the periphery and sort of did their own thing no matter when it was. So, and this reflects that too, but in a way that sounds more like, I don't want to say it sounds more like a fully realized 80s record than anything else they did, because Seventh Star, which I recently discovered and decided I kind of like, that record sounds a lot more 80s than this one. But this does not sound like a 70s record. It doesn't sound like a 90s record. It sounds like a weirdly produced 80s record, and one where they maybe weren't doing quite as much coke as on some of these other ones, you know? Great record though, man. Don't fucking snooze on this shit. I'm telling you. Yeah, and then finally, there's no way I could make a video like this without talking about Imaginos, the Blue Oyster Cult. This is barely a Blue Oyster Cult record. I mean, sort of famously, it's funny, it has like the classic lineup listed on the back: Eric Bloom, Albert Bouchard. I still want to call him Al Bouchard for reasons I've explained in the past. Joe Bouchard, Alan Lanier, and Buck Dharma. But apparently, like, they weren't really in the studio at the same times, and like some of them maybe weren't even on there. Then there's this whole long list of guest musicians and shit like that, including like Aldo Nova and some other unlikely guys. This definitely feels like a little bit of a mishmash. But it fits together, man. The one song flows into the next song. And even when they do something weird, like that guest singer they have, I can't remember his name, but he's like nobody. He's just some guy. The guy who does the absolutely brilliant vocal performance on the siege and investiture of Baron von Frankenstein's castle at Viseria. What a title, right? That's like fucking heavy, with like the kind of belting, like sort of vocalist that you want in that kind of situation. I Am the One You Warned Me Of is a great fucking, that's like one of my favorite all-time song titles, I gotta say. but that like gets us off to like sort of a spooky introduction. Del Rio's song might be my favorite song on the album. It's just like straightforward, really easy hook, great. Then kind of fades a little bit on side two. Astronomy, they've sort of reworked for this, and for some reason Buck Dharma is singing it on here instead of Eric Bloom. I've actually looked around and tried to figure out why they like changed who was sang it for this record, but I haven't found anything. If anyone knows, tell me. It's just another one. I mean, yeah, it's a weird concept album. And the songs also kind of famously or infamously are out of order, apparently, based on what the original vision for the Imaginos saga was. But I don't really give a shit about that stuff, right? What I care about is what the record sounds like, you know? You can have all these ideas, but once you, like, write it down and record it and put the record out there, now it's mine. You know what I mean? Now you don't have control over it anymore. You know, now what I hear is what I hear, and you maybe had your ideas, and maybe my ideas are completely different, but that's just life. That's just because we're individual human beings, you know? So from that standpoint, I actually think this record, with the songs out of order, tells a great story. And it's not a story in words, it's a story in the arcs of the songs and the sides and where the slow parts are, the heavier parts, and what song leads into the next song. And that's really high praise for an album as far as I'm concerned. That's a really good record. Now, if you want a classic Blue Oyster Cult record, I mean, that record is probably the most quote-unquote metal Blue Oyster Cult record, but it's probably the record that sounds the least like Blue Oyster Cult. I mean, I want to put it against like Club Ninja maybe or something like that and say, since that was so kind of commercial, but that one might have been worse. But I don't even necessarily think that's true, because I kind of feel like Club Ninja maybe wasn't a step in the best direction available to them. But if you go backwards from there to Revolution by Night and Fire of Unknown Origin and Cultosaurus Erectus, it kind of follows that trajectory into sort of more sort of modern, 80s sound. And this one kind of goes off and does its own thing. So yeah, man. That's 5 records. If you've been snoozing on any of these, man, do yourself a favor. Because I don't think any of these are like that expensive. You might have to pay a little bit for power supply, but if you do, there'll probably be a reissue before long, because they're reissuing everything fucking else, right? So just keep an eye out, you know? Not like mega expensive records, and they're all cool, and they'll do something a little bit different from what the band is normally doing. And I kind of love that. So what else are we going to talk about? Speaking of Blue Oyster Cult, been listening to a ton of rap, still totally on that, right? But this guy got played earlier today. And actually, so did this guy. I remember hyping this band Visitor a while ago, but I finally came across a copy of their other album. I had the first one in the EP. I don't know, man. These guys were like... It's really hard to put my finger on why I like these guys so much. I just think the songs are fucking good. You know, it's as simple as that. They're a hard rock band. They got some metal moves, but they're not like fully committed to the metal, you know? I think if you asked them, they'd probably more likely to say that they were rockin' than hard rock per se. But it's heavy enough for me, man. And again, I don't get bored listening to these fucking records. I don't know what it is, but a stupid cover too. I mean, you know, a little bit of sense of humor. I mean, what's great about the cover is that it looks, the layout, you go, oh yeah, that looks like a private press. That's useful for someone like me, you know? Anyway, Visitor, great band. And here's another one I've been playing a lot. Fucking Project Pat. Now, when family members of a band go off and try to start their own careers, I tend to not be very sympathetic. But I heard that some of this shit was good. Apparently he's the older brother of one of the guys from the 3-6 Mafia, or I guess 666 Mafia they were at this point in time, whatever. This fucking record is really good, and it has that Memphis grit that I want to hear when I want to hear a Memphis record. I've been so heavy on that kick. I've been like going for like anything Memphis that I can find, and some of them don't really have it as much. Like, I don't know. There are one or two sitting around here. Let me find a Memphis record. It doesn't necessarily. Oh, come on, where else? All that shit. I must have put it away. All right. Some of them have it more than others. But Project Pat really has it. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's up with that name, but it's a great record. Actually, here's another one that I've been listening to, too. Because, like I said, I was just in Seattle, and I saw Eric Bauer's copy of this, and I was jelly, so I had to go and send away from my own copies. So I'm now the proud owner of a copy of Triple X by Danny Brown. Awesome record. If you don't have the Atrocity exhibition, get that one first, but this one is really up there, too. It's fucking fantastic. It's funny, I have one other Danny Brown record that I was a lot less sort of crazy about. And it's funny, in our sort of household slang here, it's because he doesn't use his dank voice enough. Like, Danny Brown has like his regular voice and then his dank voice. Like, if you listen to Danny Brown, you'll know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about, is the funny thing. So on this one, it kind of throws me a little because there are sections where it's like he's enunciating things in a way that's like sort of halfway between his regular voice and his dank voice. But there's enough dank voice on this thing to make me really happy, and so I've been enjoying this record a lot. Yeah. Look, it's all this like shit. I can talk about the production, I can talk about the lyrics and all this shit. I just want to talk about his fucking dank voice. Because if I'm really honest, that's why I like Danny Brown. Let's show this one too, actually. This is a local Seattle one, apparently. In fact, I'll fire this up for a couple minutes. This is Black Wizard. And, I don't know. I don't usually play the rap records because I'm gonna figure there's gonna be ads all over my shit. But I really do try to spare you all that. You know, my not monetizing is a deliberate choice, and one that I'll reassess if I ever get to 10,000 subs, right? But right now, why would I annoy my audience for a nickel a video or whatever? You know, it's not worth it. Yeah, so, yeah, Black Wizard, I really kind of went off the cover. It's funny, it was like the last record store that I went to with Eric when we were in Seattle, and the guy was closing in like 15 minutes. So I flipped through the hip-hop, and I asked about this one. I'm like, oh, that's like a local one. I was like, that's good enough for me. It has a cool cover, and it's local. I'll check it out. So apparently... yeah, it's Silas Black and Specs Wizard. Hence, Black Wizard. What really kind of fascinates me about this record from the naming standpoint, you see how it says Black and there's dot in the middle, Wizard, so like Black Space Wizard. Shit. Oh, fuck. But on the spine, it says Black Wizard is one word. You see that? So they pulled an overkill. All these stickers and shit. Isn't this weird though? What an interesting beat to be rapping on top of. Shit sounds like it's getting played backwards. I'm going to bump this ahead a little bit. I realize I'm not going to be making a ton of hip-hop converts on these videos when I'm talking about this shit. Oh, the people who like it, they really appreciate it. Shout out to Heavy Therapy. This feels like the beats are unusual. Like this one, this is kind of an obvious beat, right? It's not like a really strange... it's not like syncopated in a really weird way, but the way it's treated, the accents aren't quite where you expect them to be in that. I love this sort of thing, man. I'm telling you, man, hip-hop is like, it's like this whole new world to me. Yeah, this was more than I sampled when I bought the record, so. But I'm really glad I got it now because it's a fucking really good record, so. Yeah, so that's about it. All right, thanks for watching. I would take a second at the end because I'm like, was there one more joke that I had that I forgot to bust out? No, not this time. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks again to Daybreak and all the other fine shops I visited in Seattle too. I mean, I got some good fucking records up there, so they'll be coming out, over time. So we'll see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.